Once upon a time, there was a lady named Jane. Jane was an older lady, and she lived alone in a small town. Jane had had a nice enough life. She'd had nice enough friends. She'd had nice enough birthdays, nice enough jobs. But as she entered her later years, she decided one day that she was tired of nice enough. She wanted more. She wanted something that was going to push her forward. Something that would test her limits. Something dangerous. Something exciting. And so, one day, without telling anyone, she packed up a small pack of supplies, and she headed out to the great mountain at the edge of her town. Now, this mountain had been climbed before. Jane wasn't interested in being a discoverer. What was the fun of discovering for glory? She wanted to discover for herself. She wanted to see what the mountain could teach her. She didn't want to put her stamp on the mountain. She wanted the mountain to put its stamp on her. She wanted to take a great voyage and be changed by it. And so, she began to climb. The ascent was easy at first. The shallow foothills, the well-worn trails. It was nice enough. But Jane wasn't worried. She knew that if she pushed forward, she would soon be past the point of nice enough. And so she got higher and higher, and the sun went down and she made camp. She'd never camped before. And her first camp didn't keep her very warm, didn't feel very sturdy. But she learned from her mistakes, and as she kept climbing the mountain, her next night's camp was secure and kept the winds out. She knew how to tie the stakes down, how to bundle herself up for the night. She kept climbing, and she kept climbing, and the climb got more and more difficult the higher she got. The winds became stronger. The trails became less well-worn before finally disappearing altogether. But she didn't give up. She knew she could reach the top. With every grain of her endurance, every cell in her body knew that it could keep pushing. This was the adventure Jane had been waiting for. Higher and higher she climbed. Becoming steadier, more sure of herself, she learned which rocks she could put her full weight on, and which looked sturdy, but would crumble under her feet if she trusted them. She got so high that her town disappeared beneath her, and finally, so did the rest of the world as she pushed past the cloud barrier. Jane was exhausted. She was hungry. The exposure of the elements had been wearing at her for days. But she would reach the top of the mountain. This would be her voyage, her victory. What a coup it would be if she could make this dream come true after a life of not even daring to dream. And one day, finally, as the cold sun reached its zenith in the sky directly above her, she reached the summit. She had arrived. She had done it. She sat upon the peak and thought about everything the mountain had taught her. Everything she had learned about nature and about herself, about the heart of her. And she thought about her little town and her little house and her nice enough life. And she looked around and said to herself, you know what? I think I'll stay. And that's the story of Jane and the mountain.